In the heart of Paris, there stood a grand hotel that attracted travelers from all corners of the world. It wasn't just any hotel. It was one of those places where luxury met warmth, and every guest felt like royalty. The owner, a man known for his sharp eye for detail, ran the place with precision. He made sure everything, from the fresh flowers in the lobby to the spotless carpets on the stairs, was perfect. But even he couldn't have predicted what happened one quiet morning. It was an ordinary day, or so it seemed. The sun filtered through the tall windows of the hotel's grand lobby, casting golden light onto the polished marble floors. Guests milled about, chatting in different languages, some animatedly discussing their plans for the day, others quietly sipping coffee while scrolling through their phones. Among the hum of conversations, there was one voice that caught the owner's attention. At first, he didn't think much of it. After all, hearing multiple languages in such a diverse setting wasn't unusual. What stopped him in his tracks, though, was how effortlessly this particular person switched between them. One moment, she was speaking French to a couple checking out, guiding them on directions to the airport. The next, she was conversing in English with a family who needed help finding a nearby restaurant. Then came Spanish, Italian, German, and more. Each language flowed naturally, as if she had been born into it. Curiosity got the better of him. The voice belonged to someone wearing the uniform of the cleaning staff. She was busy wiping down tables near the seating area, her movements quick yet deliberate. Her name tag read Amira. To everyone else, she was just another employee doing her job, but the owner couldn't shake off the feeling that there was something extraordinary about her. He decided to follow her discreetly, not because he doubted her work ethic, but because he wanted to understand what he was witnessing. As he observed, he noticed something remarkable. Amira wasn't merely responding to requests. She was engaging genuinely with people. Whether it was recommending local attractions or offering tips about navigating public transport, she did so with a smile that made guests feel seen and heard, and she did it all in their native tongues, leaving them pleasantly surprised and grateful. The owner found himself wondering, how did someone working as a cleaner come to master so many languages? Was it self-taught, or had she studied abroad? Did she grow up in a multilingual household? Questions swirled in his mind, each one fueling his intrigue further. Finally, unable to contain his curiosity any longer, he approached her. "Excuse me," he said politely, interrupting her mid-task. She looked up, startled but composed. "Do you have a moment? I'd like to speak with you." Amira nodded hesitantly, unsure why the owner of the hotel would want to talk to her. She followed him to his office, her hands still slightly damp from cleaning. Little did she know this simple meeting would change the course of her life forever. As they sat across from each other in the cozy confines of his office, the owner wasted no time getting to the point. "I overheard you speaking earlier," he began. "You're fluent in quite a few languages, aren't you?" Amira blushed, caught off guard by the compliment. "Yes, sir," she replied softly. I try my best." "Try your best?" he echoed, raising an eyebrow. "That's an understatement. I counted at least 9 languages, 9. Most people struggle with 2. Where did you learn them?" And so, Amira began to share her story, a tale of resilience, passion, and hidden potential waiting to be discovered. The owner listened intently, realizing that this young woman was far more than met the eye. What started as a routine day at the hotel had turned into something truly unexpected, and he knew deep down that this was only the beginning. Amira sat nervously in the plush chair across from the hotel owner, her hands clasped tightly together. The room was quiet except for the faint hum of the air conditioner. She had never been inside the owner's office before, and the weight of the moment made her heart race. This wasn't just any conversation. It felt like a crossroads, though she didn't fully understand why yet. The owner leaned back in his chair, studying her with a mix of curiosity and admiration. "So," he said gently, breaking the silence, "tell me how you learned all these languages. It's not every day you meet someone who can switch between 9 tongues so effortlessly." Amira hesitated, unsure where to begin. Talking about herself wasn't something she did often. In fact, she preferred staying in the background, doing her work quietly without drawing attention. But there was something about the owner's tone, kind, but firm, that encouraged her to open up. Well, she started slowly, choosing her words carefully. I guess it began at home. I grew up in a small town in Morocco, in a family that was different, you could say. My father worked as a diplomat, which meant we moved around a lot when I was younger. Every new place brought a new language, a new culture. By the time I was 10, I could already speak 6 languages fluently. The owner nodded, clearly fascinated. That's incredible. Not many kids get such exposure growing up. Did your parents teach you, or did you pick it up on your own? It was a bit of both, Amira explained, her voice growing steadier as she spoke. At home, my dad would often bring people from different countries, colleagues, friends, visitors, and they'd all speak their native languages. I loved listening to them, trying to figure out what they were saying. Over time, I started picking things up naturally, and then, whenever we settled somewhere new, I'd immerse myself in the local language. School helped too, of course, but most of it came from living it, from being surrounded by it every day. She paused, glancing down at her hands. There was more to her story, parts she rarely shared with anyone. The owner seemed to sense this and gave her an encouraging smile. Go on, he urged softly. There's more to it, isn't there? Amira took a deep breath. Yes, she admitted. When I turned 16, everything changed. My father passed away suddenly, and our lives flipped upside down. We lost the financial stability we once had, and my mom had to take whatever jobs she could find to keep us going. I stopped traveling after that. Instead, I stayed back to help her. That's when I realized I needed to rely on myself if I wanted to make something of my life. Her voice wavered slightly, but she pressed on. I couldn't afford to go to university, so I started teaching myself. I borrowed books, watched movies, listened to podcasts, all in different languages. It became my escape, my way of holding onto the world I missed. When I ran out of resources, I turned to the internet. Online communities, language exchange forums, free courses, they became my teachers. Slowly, I added 3 more languages to the ones I already knew. The owner listened intently, his expression thoughtful. He could hear the determination in her voice, the quiet strength that had carried her through tough times. And now here, you are? He said finally, leaning forward slightly. Working as a cleaner in my hotel, using those skills to connect with guests, even though no one asked you to. Amira looked down again, embarrassed. It's not really a big deal, she murmured. I like helping people. If someone looks lost or confused, I try to step in. Knowing their language makes it easier to bridge the gap, It feels good to be useful. The owner chuckled softly. Useful? You're being modest. What you've done is extraordinary. Most people wouldn't even attempt to learn 1 extra language, let alone 9. And to do it entirely on your own? That takes grit. Amira smiled faintly, still uncomfortable with the praise. She had always seen her abilities as practical tools, not something remarkable. To her, speaking multiple languages was simply a way to navigate the world. It hadn't occurred to her that others might view it differently. Seeing her discomfort, the owner decided to shift the conversation. Tell me something, he said, leaning back again. Why did you choose to work here? With your talents, you could have aimed higher. Amira shrugged, her gaze drifting toward the window. Honestly, it wasn't about aiming high or low. After my father died, survival became the priority. My mom worked long hours, and I needed to contribute too. This job pays decently, and it lets me send money home to her. Plus, I enjoy it in my own way. Cleaning might not seem glamorous, but it's honest work. And besides, she added with a small grin, it gives me plenty of opportunities to practice my languages. The owner chuckled again, impressed by her perspective. Well, he said, standing up and extending a hand. I think it's time we reconsidered your role here. Your skills are far too valuable to be limited to housekeeping. Let's talk about how we can put them to better use for you and for the hotel. Amira blinked, startled. What do you mean? She asked cautiously. He smiled warmly. Let's just say I have an idea, something that might surprise you. But first I want you to think about what you truly want. You've spent years working hard and staying invisible. Maybe it's time to step into the spotlight. For the first time since entering the office, Amira felt a flicker of hope, a tiny spark of possibility she hadn't allowed herself to imagine before. As she shook the owner's hand, she couldn't help but wonder, could this really be the start of something new? Amira left the owner's office that afternoon with her mind racing. She replayed their conversation over and over, trying to make sense of what had just happened. The idea of stepping into a bigger role at the hotel felt both exciting and terrifying. For so long she had kept her head down, focusing on her work without expecting anything more. But now the owner's words lingered in her thoughts. Your skills are far too valuable to be limited to housekeeping. What did he mean by that? Was he really considering giving her a new position? And if he was, could she handle it? These questions swirled in her mind as she returned to her duties, though her hands moved automatically through the familiar motions of cleaning. The next day, the owner called her into his office again. This time he wasted no time getting to the point. I've been thinking about our conversation, he began, gesturing for her to sit. And I believe we can do something special here, not just for you, but for the hotel as well. Amira listened intently, her heart pounding. What do you have in mind? She asked cautiously. He smiled, clearly pleased with himself. We're going to create a new role specifically for someone like you. Someone who can act as a bridge between our guests and the hotel staff. We get visitors from all over the world. And sometimes communication becomes a challenge. Misunderstandings happen, frustrations arise, it's not ideal. But with your language skills and natural ability to connect with people, you could step in and smooth things out. Amira blinked, stunned. You want me to... What exactly? I want you to become the hotel's official multilingual liaison officer, he said confidently. In this role, you'll assist VIP clients, resolve cross-cultural issues, and even help train other staff members. You'll be the face of the hotel for many of our international guests. Does that sound interesting? Amira stared at him, overwhelmed. On one hand, the offer was incredible, an opportunity she never dreamed possible. On the other hand, doubt crept in. Could she really handle such responsibility? She had spent years blending into the background, avoiding attention. Now the owner wanted her to step into the spotlight. I don't know, she stammered, finally. It sounds amazing, but I'm not sure I'm ready for something like this. What if I mess up? The owner leaned forward, his expression serious yet kind. Let me tell you something, he said. When I first started running this hotel, I made plenty of mistakes. I doubted myself constantly. But I learned one important lesson. Growth doesn't come from staying in your comfort zone, it comes from taking risks even when you're scared. He paused, letting his words sink in. You already have the most important qualities for this job. Your languages, yes, but also your kindness and willingness to help others. That's rare, and it's exactly what we need. As for the rest, we'll figure it out together. You won't be doing this alone. Amira felt a lump rise in her throat. No one had ever spoken to her like this before, with such belief in her potential. Slowly, she nodded. Okay, she whispered. I'll try. Over the next few weeks, Amira threw herself into preparing for her new role. The owner introduced her to key members of the staff, explaining her responsibilities and how she would fit into the team. At first, some colleagues were skeptical. They whispered among themselves, wondering why someone from housekeeping had been chosen for such an important position. Others outright resented her promotion, feeling overlooked despite their own hard work. Amira heard the murmurs but chose not to dwell on them. Instead, she focused on proving herself. She attended meetings, shadowed senior staff, and studied the ins and outs of the hotel's operations. Every evening after her shift ended, she practiced phrases in different languages, ensuring she could handle any situation that might arise. Her first real test came sooner than expected. A group of Japanese business executives checked in, visibly, stressed after a delayed flight. Their translator hadn't arrived and they struggled to communicate their needs. When Amira approached them, switching seamlessly into fluent Japanese, their relief was palpable. "Can you help us with our reservations?" one of them asked hesitantly. "Of course," Amira replied with a warm smile. "Let's go over everything together." She guided them through the check-in process, helped arrange transportation for their meetings, and even recommended local restaurants where they could unwind. By the end of the interaction, the executives were smiling, thanking her profusely for her assistance. Word of her success spread quickly. Soon other staff members began seeking her help, whether it was translating for a guest or resolving a misunderstanding. Her presence became a calming force in the bustling environment of the hotel. Even those who had initially doubted her started to see her value. Despite her growing confidence, Amira faced challenges. Some days the pressure felt overwhelming. Balancing her old duties with her new responsibilities was exhausting, and there were moments when she questioned whether she had made the right decision. But every time she saw the gratitude in a guest's eyes or received a compliment from a colleague, she reminded herself why she had taken the leap. One particularly difficult day stood out. A Russian couple had booked a suite for their anniversary, only to discover upon arrival that their reservation had been double booked. Furious, they demanded immediate action. The front desk staff panicked, unsure how to calm the situation. That's when Amira stepped in. Switching to fluent Russian, she greeted the couple warmly. "I understand this must be frustrating," she said sincerely. "Please let me help sort this out for you." She listened patiently as they explained their concerns, offering solutions and alternatives. Within minutes, she arranged for them to stay in a larger suite at no extra cost and personally escorted them to their room. By the time she left, the couple was smiling, their anger replaced by appreciation. Later that evening, the owner pulled her aside. "You handled that beautifully," he said, his tone full of pride. "That's exactly the kind of impact I knew you could have." Amira blushed, still unused to receiving praise. "Thank you," she replied softly. "I'm just glad I could help." As weeks turned into months, Amira settled into her new role with increasing ease. She found joy in solving problems, connecting with guests, and making their stays memorable. Her colleagues, once hesitant, began to admire her dedication and skill. Even the skeptics warmed up to her, recognizing the positive changes she brought to the team. For Amira, the transformation was profound. What started as a simple act of speaking multiple languages had blossomed into something much greater, a chance to grow, to shine, and to inspire others. She realized that her journey wasn't just about personal success. It was about showing others that opportunities could come from unexpected places as long as you were willing to embrace them. And deep down, she knew this was only the beginning. Amira's life had transformed in ways she could never have imagined. From quietly cleaning rooms to becoming the hotel's multilingual liaison officer, every day brought new challenges and opportunities. But as her confidence grew, so did the recognition of her talents beyond the hotel walls. Little by little, word of her unique abilities began to spread. It started with small mentions. A guest posting about her on social media, praising how she had helped them navigate a tricky situation using their native language. Then came more posts, each one highlighting her warmth, professionalism, and linguistic skills. Before long, these stories caught the attention of local journalists who were always on the lookout for heartwarming human interest pieces. One morning, Amira arrived at work to find a reporter waiting in the lobby, notebook in hand. At first, she panicked. The idea of being interviewed made her nervous. She wasn't used to being in the spotlight, let alone talking about herself to strangers. But the reporter was kind and patient, asking thoughtful questions that put her at ease. "What inspired you to learn so many languages?" they asked. "How does it feel to go from housekeeping to such an important role here?" Amira answered, honestly, sharing bits of her story, her childhood in Morocco, her father's influence, the struggles after his passing, and her determination to keep learning despite the odds. By the time the interview ended, she felt surprisingly proud of herself. For once, she allowed herself to acknowledge how far she had come. The article appeared in a popular newspaper a few days later, titled, "From Cleaner to Multilingual Miracle: How One Woman is Redefining Hospitality." The piece painted a vivid picture of Amira's journey, capturing not just her skills, but also her resilience and humility. Readers were captivated. Messages poured in, from former guests thanking her for making their stays unforgettable, to people inspired by her story, saying things like, "If she can do it, maybe I can chase my dreams too." But the attention didn't stop there. Soon, invitations to speak at conferences and events began arriving. At first, Amira hesitated. Public speaking terrified her. What if she stumbled over her words? What if no one found her story interesting? The owner encouraged her, reminding her of the impact she had already made. "You've touched so many lives," he told her. "Imagine how many more you could inspire if you shared your story." With some reluctance, Amira accepted her first invitation. It was a hospitality conference held in a nearby city, attended by industry professionals eager to learn about improving guest experiences. Standing backstage before her talk, she felt her palms grow sweaty and her heart race. She glanced at the crowd through the curtains, hundreds of faces staring expectantly at the stage. Doubt crept in again. What could she possibly say that would matter to them? As she stepped onto the stage, the applause surprised her. Taking a deep breath, she began. "Good morning," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I'm not used to standing in front of audiences like this. In fact, until recently I spent most of my days scrubbing floors and tidying rooms at a hotel in Paris. So trust me when I say, if someone like me can end up here today, then anyone can." Her opening line drew laughter, easing the tension. As she continued speaking candidly about her background, her challenges, and her unexpected rise, the audience hung on her every word. She talked about the importance of finding joy in small moments, of embracing opportunities even when they seem daunting, and of believing in yourself even when others don't see your potential. By the end of her speech, the room erupted in applause. People lined up to thank her, asking for advice or simply expressing how much her story had moved them. For the first time, Amira realized the power of her voice, not just in speaking multiple languages, but in sharing her truth. Her story resonated because it was real, raw, and relatable. Back at the hotel, life continued to evolve. With her growing fame, Amira received offers from outside organizations, language schools wanting her to teach courses, multinational companies seeking her expertise in cross-cultural communication, and even publishers interested in turning her journey into a book. While flattered, she politely declined most of them. Despite the accolades and opportunities, her heart remained tied to the hotel and the people within it. "I owe everything to this place," she told the owner one evening. "It gave me a chance when I thought I had none. I can't leave now." He smiled, touched by her loyalty. "You've become the soul of this hotel," he replied, "and we're lucky to have you." Amira took her role seriously, using her platform to uplift others around her. She started mentoring junior staff members, encouraging them to pursue their passions and believe in themselves. "Don't let fear hold you back," she often told them. "Take risks. You'll be amazed at what you're capable of." She also became a champion for diversity and inclusion within the hotel. Recognizing the value of different perspectives, she advocated for hiring practices that prioritize talent over traditional qualifications. Under her guidance, the hotel introduced training programs aimed at empowering employees to develop new skills and take on leadership roles. Her efforts created a ripple effect, inspiring colleagues to dream bigger and aim higher. One day, a young man approached her during her lunch break. He looked nervous, clutching a notebook tightly in his hands. "Excuse me," he said hesitantly. Are you really the person everyone talks about? The one who speaks 9 languages?" Amira smiled warmly. "Yes, that's me. Why do you ask?" The man shifted uncomfortably. I wanted to thank you. Your story, it changed something in me. I've been working here for 2 years, doing the same thing every day, thinking I'd never amount to anything. But hearing about what you've done, it makes me think maybe I can try harder. Maybe I can do more." Tears welled up in Amira's eyes. She reached out and placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Of course you can," she said firmly. "Everyone has untapped potential inside them. Sometimes, all it takes is someone noticing your light for you to realize how bright it truly is." Moments like these reminded Amira why she stayed. Yes, she could have pursued bigger opportunities elsewhere, but nothing compared to the fulfillment she found in helping others discover their own strengths. Every smile, every word of gratitude, every spark of inspiration she ignited in someone else fueled her purpose. As months turned into years, Amira's influence extended far beyond the hotel. She became a symbol of hope and possibility, proof that greatness could emerge from the most ordinary beginnings. Her journey taught everyone around her, including herself, that success wasn't defined by titles or wealth, but by the positive impact you left on the world. Yet, despite all the changes, Amira remained grounded. She still walked the halls of the hotel, greeting guests and staff alike with the same warmth that had won hearts from the start. And though her name might have been known across continents, she never forgot where she came from, or the lessons she had learned along the way. For Amira, the true reward wasn't fame or recognition. It was knowing that she had made a difference. One conversation, one connection, one language at a time. Amira's journey was like a pebble dropped into a calm lake. The ripples kept spreading, touching lives in ways she couldn't have predicted. Her story had become more than just her own. It was a beacon of hope for anyone who doubted their potential. People from all walks of life reached out to her, sharing how her example had inspired them to take chances they'd been too afraid to try before. Yet what truly amazed Amira was the way her impact began reshaping the very fabric of the hotel itself. The owner, moved by the changes he'd witnessed under Amira's influence, decided it was time to take things further. He realized that talent, often hid in plain sight, overlooked because society tended to define people by their roles rather than their abilities. Inspired by Amira's rise, he introduced a program called Hidden Talents. The initiative aimed to identify and nurture untapped skills among the hotel staff, whether it was someone's knack for cooking, artistic flair, or even problem-solving abilities. Amira played a key role in shaping the program. She worked closely with the management team to design interviews and workshops where employees could showcase their hidden talents. Some were hesitant at first, unsure if their contributions would be valued. But Amira encouraged them, reminding them of her own journey. "You never know what doors might open unless you step through them," she told them during one of the orientation sessions. "And trust me, this hotel wants to help you shine." The results were nothing short of transformative. A maintenance worker revealed an incredible talent for painting and soon found himself designing murmur-worthy murals for the hotel's walls. A receptionist with a passion for music started organizing weekly live performances in the lobby, drawing in locals as well as guests. Another employee, shy and reserved, turned out to be a gifted storyteller and began leading cultural tours for international visitors. Each discovery added a new layer of vibrancy to the hotel, turning it into not just a place to stay, but a hub of creativity and connection. For Amira, watching these transformations unfold was deeply fulfilling. It reminded her of her early days when she felt invisible, blending into the background while quietly honing her skills. Now she saw others stepping into the light, finding confidence and purpose they didn't know they had. Every success story reinforced her belief that everyone deserved a chance to grow, and that growth often came from simply being seen. Outside the hotel, Amira's influence continued to grow. Invitations to speak at events poured in, each one offering her a platform to share her message of resilience and self-belief. Whether addressing students in a classroom, professionals at a conference, or community members at a local gathering, her talks carried the same heartfelt authenticity. She spoke openly about her struggles, her fears, and the moments of doubt that still lingered even now. But she also emphasized the importance of perseverance and gratitude. "I used to think my circumstances defined me," she said during one speech. "I thought I'd always be stuck cleaning floors unnoticed and unimportant. But then I realized something. Circumstances don't define us. Our choices do. Every day, we have the power to choose how we show up in the world. We can choose to stay small, or we can choose to grow. And sometimes, all it takes is one person believing in us to make that choice easier. Her words resonated deeply, especially with those who felt trapped by their situations. After one talk, a woman approached her, tears streaming down her face. "I've been working 2 jobs just to keep food on the table," the woman said. "I feel like I'm stuck in a rut going nowhere. Hearing your story makes me think maybe there's hope for me too." Amira hugged her tightly. "There's always hope," she replied. "Start small. Take one step today toward what makes you happy. Even if it feels insignificant, it matters. Trust me, I know." Back at the hotel, Amira remained committed to mentoring others. She created a monthly group session called Dream Big, Start Small, where employees gathered to discuss their aspirations and brainstorm ways to achieve them. These sessions became a safe space for dreaming aloud, free from judgment or fear. Many participants credited Amira with helping them see possibilities they hadn't considered before. One evening, after a particularly lively session, a young waiter stayed behind to thank her. "You've changed everything for me," he said earnestly. "Before, I thought I'd spend my whole life serving meals and nothing more. But now I'm taking online courses in hospitality management. Who knows, maybe one day I'll run a hotel like this one." Amira smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "If you dream it and work for it, it will happen," she assured him. "Just remember to enjoy the journey along the way." Despite her growing responsibilities, Amira never lost sight of why she loved her job in the first place: the people. Guests continued to marvel at her ability to connect with them in their native languages, making their stays feel personal and special. One elderly couple from Italy returned to the hotel year after year, specifically requesting her assistance during their visits. "She's like family to us now," the wife once said, hugging Amira warmly. "We wouldn't come back without knowing she'd be here." Even colleagues who had initially resented her promotion warmed up to her over time. They saw how genuinely she cared, not just about the hotel's success but about theirs too. Her humility disarmed skeptics, and her determination inspired respect. By leading with kindness and empathy, she earned the loyalty of everyone around her. As years passed, Amira's legacy became woven into the hotel's identity. New hires learned about her story during orientation, seeing it as proof that no dream was too big or too impossible. The Hidden Talents program flourished, uncovering gems within the workforce that elevated the hotel's reputation even higher. Guests praised not just the luxurious accommodations, but the warmth and creativity of the staff. Word spread far and wide, turning the hotel into a destination known not only for its beauty but for its heart. Yet, for all the accolades and recognition, Amira stayed true to herself. She continued to greet every guest with a smile, to listen patiently to their needs, and to find joy in the little moments. Her journey had taught her that success wasn't about titles or fame. It was about making a difference, however big or small. And so, as she walked the familiar halls of the hotel, surrounded by the hum of laughter and chatter, Amira knew she was exactly where she was meant to be. She had started as a cleaner, speaking 9 languages in secret, and risen to become a symbol of hope and possibility. But more importantly, she had shown countless others that they too could rise. If only they dared to believe in themselves. Years had passed since the day Amira's life changed in that quiet hotel office. The once shy cleaner who spoke 9 languages was now a household name, not just within the hotel, but across industries. Her journey had become a testament to the power of hidden potential and the magic of being noticed. But for Amira, the real reward wasn't fame or recognition. It was knowing she had sparked a chain reaction of growth, hope, and transformation. The hotel itself had transformed alongside her. What started as a luxurious establishment catering to global elites evolved into something far greater, a place where dreams were nurtured, talents uncovered, and lives changed. Guests often remarked on the unique energy they felt when walking. through its doors, an energy fueled by the passion and purpose of the people working there. It wasn't just a hotel anymore. It was a community built on trust, encouragement, and shared aspirations. Amira's Hidden Talents program had grown exponentially, attracting attention from other businesses eager to replicate its success. Hotels, restaurants, and even corporate offices began implementing similar initiatives, inspired by stories of maintenance workers turned muralists, receptionists turned musicians, and waiters turned managers. The ripple effect extended far beyond what anyone could have imagined, proving that investing in people always paid dividends, not just in profits, but in human connection. One evening, as Amira sat in her cozy corner office overlooking the bustling lobby below, she reflected on how far she'd come. The room was filled with mementos of her journey, photos of smiling guests, handwritten thank you notes, and small gifts from colleagues who credited her with changing their lives. But one item stood out among the rest, a framed quote that read, "Greatness is not found in titles but in the impact you leave behind." She smiled at the memory of the owner presenting it to her during a staff celebration years ago. At the time, she hadn't fully grasped its meaning. Now she understood it deeply. Her greatest achievements weren't the promotions, awards, or public speeches. They were the moments when someone told her, "You changed my life," or, "Because of you, I believe in myself again." That evening, as she prepared to leave work, a young woman approached her hesitantly. She looked nervous, clutching a folder tightly against her chest. "Excuse me," she said softly. Are you really Amira?" Amira nodded, smiling warmly. "Yes, I am. How can I help you?" The woman took a deep breath, her eyes shining with emotion. "I just wanted to say thank you. You probably don't remember me, but I attended one of your talks last year. I was stuck in a job I hated, feeling like I'd never amount to anything. But hearing your story gave me courage. I quit my job, went back to school, and now I'm working toward becoming a teacher. I wouldn't have done it without you." Tears welled up in Amira's eyes as she embraced the woman. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered. "Never stop believing in yourself. You're capable of amazing things." Moments like these reminded Amira why she stayed rooted in her role. Yes, she could have pursued bigger opportunities elsewhere, but nothing compared to the joy of seeing others step into their greatness. Every smile, every word of gratitude, every spark of inspiration she ignited in someone else fueled her purpose. As the years went by, Amira continued to evolve. While she remained committed to the hotel, she also expanded her reach beyond its walls. She wrote a book titled 9 Languages, 1 Heart, sharing her story and offering advice to anyone seeking to break free from limiting circumstances. The book became an international bestseller, translated into multiple languages, a fitting tribute to her multilingual roots. Her speaking engagements grew more frequent, taking her to cities around the world. Yet, no matter where she traveled, she always returned home to the hotel that had given her a chance. To her, it wasn't just a workplace, it was family. And like any devoted family member, she poured her heart into nurturing it. One crisp autumn morning, the hotel hosted a special event to celebrate its 50th anniversary. Staff members past and present gathered in the grand ballroom, reminiscing about memories made over the decades. As part of the celebration, the owner announced the creation of the Amira Hassan Scholarship Fund, dedicated to supporting employees pursuing education or training in fields they were passionate about. Oya. He called Amira to the stage to unveil the fund. The room erupted in applause. Tears streamed down her face as she looked out at the sea of smiling faces, people whose lives she had touched directly or indirectly. Taking the microphone, she spoke from the heart. "When I first walked into this hotel, I never dreamed I'd stand here today," she began, her voice steady despite her emotions. "I came here looking for a paycheck, hoping to send money home to my mom. What I found instead was a second family, a place where I could grow, learn, and dream bigger than I ever thought possible." She paused, scanning the crowd. "This scholarship fund isn't about me, it's about all of you. It's about giving everyone the tools and support they need to chase their dreams, Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that talent is everywhere, but opportunity isn't. Let's change that. Together. The room erupted in cheers, the sound echoing off the walls like a symphony of hope. For Amira, it was the perfect culmination of her journey, a reminder that her story wasn't just hers alone. It belonged to every person who dared to believe in themselves because someone else believed in them first. In the years that followed, Amira continued to inspire generations of employees and guests alike. Her legacy lived on, not just in the programs she created or the scholarships awarded in her name, but in the countless lives she touched along the way. The hotel remained a beacon of possibility, a place where people came not just to rest but to dream. For Amira, the lesson was clear. Life's greatest rewards came not from personal achievements but from lifting others up. She had started as a cleaner, speaking 9 languages in secret, and risen to become a symbol of hope and resilience. But more importantly, she had shown the world that greatness wasn't reserved for the privileged few. It was waiting to be discovered in each and every one of us. And as she walked through the hotel's gleaming halls, greeted by familiar faces and warm smiles, Amira knew she was exactly where she belonged. She had taken a leap of faith years ago, trusting that her light would guide her forward. Now she spent her days helping others find theirs, a mission that would continue long after her own story ended.